Introduction. All people at least once in their lives faced the choice of forgiving or not forgiving someone who made a mistake or offended them. It can often be very difficult to overcome oneself and forgive, but in fact, there are several reasons why this act is necessary. First, mental and physical health depends on the ability to forgive and forget about others' mistakes. Second, forgiving others is forgiving self. Finally, people who hold their grudges tend to avoid their future. These interesting points are discussed in detail and proved in the following paragraphs. Forgiveness helps to be healthy. One may have noticed that when they hold grudges and remember all the mistakes of their loved ones, it is very burdensome and affects their health, making them feel worse. First, as noticed by researchers, the act of forgiveness can improve cholesterol levels and sleep, lower the risk of heart attack, and reduce pain and blood pressure. Thus, such people have fewer issues with their health, and living is easier for them. Secondly, people who can get rid of resentments less often develop depression, anxiety, bursts of anger, and other conditions and disorders, so their mental health is stronger. Finally, research points to an increase in the forgiveness-health connection as people age, so this act is the key to longevity. Consequently, people who are able to forgive and move on are healthier and usually live longer. Forgiving others is also forgiving self. Generally, it is possible to say that the way people treat others is how they treat themselves. If a woman always reminds her friends of that one time they offended her, it is likely that she can rarely forgive herself for her own mistakes. Additionally, as stated by Brenner, when one holds a grudge against someone who has hurt him or her, it is not only because of the action itself but also because the hurting person has allowed to offend them in the first place. Therefore, forgiving another individual for their actions is also forgiving oneself for making those actions possible. Finally, no one is immune from mistakes in the future, and one can cause others the same pain they once experienced. Thus, by always forgiving people for this or that situation, it will be easier for a person to forgive themselves when they unintentionally become the initiator of the same problem. Holding grudges is also holding on to the past and avoiding happiness. Almost all people want to develop, grow mentally and intellectually, and live happily. However, bearing a grudge does not allow one to enter their bright future. Brenner notices that people who cannot forgive are focused on the negative aspects of their past, not seeing the positive aspects of their future. What is more, such persons spend too much energy remembering their grudges, so there are not enough efforts to develop their spiritual development. Finally, the pain and anger that person carries are too heavy and become shackles that drag one back. Conclusion. To draw a conclusion, one may say that there are many reasons why the act of forgiveness is important. People who have this ability are freer, happier, healthier, and more powerful than those who continue carrying their grudges. If one wants to improve their physical and mental health, live longer, be in harmony with themselves, and develop spiritually, they need to learn to forgive others and themselves. Study Corgi can help you make your studies smarter. Visit studycorgi.com for more samples like this, study tips, and writing tools.